Hello and welcome to episode 191 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wolves 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Please subscribe and tell a friend.
Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello, everyone.
And Jack Williams.
Good evening.
Right, okay, so Harry, it's turmoil on Wolves Twitter. I did try and stay off it, and then I had a few more beers on Saturday, and then I went on it again and wish I hadn't bothered. But it was Wolves 0, Brighton 3. In our minds, it's only 2-0 because I saw no fight, you saw no fight, so we thought, no, sod this, we'll go. So, we were one of those people that left early for full discussion. What did you think to begin with? I mean, we were quite surprised and almost excited when we saw the lineup, and we see Ruben Neves in it because we didn't think he would be playing much again this season. 3 in midfield, then Donker and Moutinho with him. Thoughts?
Well, said last week, Brighton had gone and won at Spurs and Arsenal. If we didn't play very well, they'd dick us. And that's what happened. Thoughts on the team? I was surprised Neves was back. I think we all thought he'd still be injured. I weren't too bothered that he'd gone the 3 in midfield because I just wanted him to change it from the Burnley game. So before the game, looking at the team, apart from Johnny being dropped, I was a bit like, okay, I'm happy with this. Let's go. But from as soon as the ball was kicked, the first 5 minutes, I think you could just sense it wasn't going to be our day. The ground was flat, like as in the atmosphere. The players didn't look arsed. And Brighton, although they should be mid-table and not caring, completely wanted it more and played us off the park. And it was just a disaster from minute 1 to minute 93. And it was an absolute joke.
Jack, they would say that Brighton are on the beach, but they are only 5 points behind Wolves. So with the top 3 to play, then they could potentially have something to play for.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's just amazing looking at the table, really, that we're still in the position that we are, isn't it? Because there's still that little gap there, isn't there, between us and the 9th place team. And on the face of it, the performances over the last 10 games or so, they've been relegation form. Honestly, relegation performances and relegation results. You can't butcher it up any other way. It's been an utter disgrace, really. With the way that West Ham have probably been focusing their efforts elsewhere, we should have 7th place wrapped up by now. And when push comes to shove, we've just not shown that we wanted it. We've not shown that we wanted it, and the fans really did want it. And we had a great opportunity. Granted, we've missed Neves, we've missed Podence and these sorts of things, but we just can't score, and we can't even create a chance without some of our players missing. And that performance at the weekend was just laughable, really, more than anything. There were just some moments in there which, rather than, like, you'd have to laugh or else you'd cry, really. I'm thinking back to some of the moments where, like, Ait-Nouri's in a great position and just absolutely tanks it out of play from across. When Jimenez tried to take a quick throw and doesn't throw it in play, it just goes straight along the touchline out of play. It's a professional athlete, and he's tried to take a quick throw. And honestly, we could do that. We have done
that, yeah.
And I'm sure there was a couple of other moments as well that I've forgotten about, and some of it was just hilarious. Some of the defending, it was just too easy and lackluster. Like, and some of the worrying things here is you're looking at that back 3 of Sace, Cody, and Bolly, and what's changed since it's been in the Championship? Because that was the back 3 in the Championship, and it's been looking like a Championship defence lately, hasn't it? Let's be honest. I really think in the summer, the time for sentiment is over, and we need to move on from some of these players that, have been around for a few years that we need to improve on. And centre halves is definitely an area where I would say we need to improve. We've missed Kilman, haven't we, as well?
Since promotion, we've said that. We've said centre half, a good quality centre back. I mean, how many times have we said that phrase on this podcast?
Quite a few, but there's a few players, isn't there? Like, even looking at the likes of Jimenez and these sorts of players that.
Bayliss, you played cricket and scored the same as Brighton at the weekend.
That is correct. I am not a batsman.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous you weren't there, Bayliss. You showed a good time to play cricket.
Day.
And then
30 runs too short.
You bowled the over that the team you were playing against won.
The last over of the innings.
I still think you had a better day than everybody else that went.
I mean, yeah, it was a nice day. I mean, we were probably 30 short of what we should have got. I didn't bowl too badly on the whole. It was better than watching that shit, wasn't it?
You did come up a few times, Dan. I think the one thing that springs to mind is Semedo weren't the best, and he rounded off the performance that he did have on the pitch by our first probably convincing breakaway of the first half. The ball gets played out to Semedo. He needs to put the burners on, and he decides instead to twist his ankle and break his bloody knee. And that was just about summed up the first half, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was second half that happened, wasn't it? But,
or was it second half? Sorry.
Yeah,
but, it was just lackluster, and just it's kind of like that they're not that interested. And then everything comes out about what's going on in the dressing room, and it's a fair question.
I think it is a fair question. Well, let's take a look at that question, because quite a few people, Harry, were Bruno out. I think you put a poll on Twitter today, didn't you? Sort of asking that question. What were the results from that poll?
I'm not at the top. When I last looked at it, I think it's 50% yes, he'll be at Wolves next year, about 30% no, and about 20% I don't know. But that's the Wolves fan base in a nutshell for me. Very reactionary. Look, it hasn't been good. We've lost 7 in 10, but we all said last summer and in January, if it goes wrong, which inevitably it will because of the small squad, you can't all point the finger at Bruno. Yes, his substitutions are questionable, and yes, some of his team selections have been, but you've got to give the bloke a chance. He was the best thing since sliced bread when we were pushing for the top 4 about a month or 2 ago. So for people to be questioning his position now is very unfair, in my opinion, and that's just the modern day football fan in a nutshell for me. So you can't point the finger at Bruno. You've got to point the finger at Jeff Shee and the board for not backing the man, and at some of the players. For Harry, when we lose players, we just fall apart. When some of our key players get injured, they can't cope.
It seems pretty simple to me, having looked at what's going on at the club, that we need more buyers and less of Scott Sellers.
Yeah,
no,
it's true.
Business. Go on. Should we talk about transfers first, or do you want
to? No. Talk about the Brighton game. We were there, Bayless. We need to talk about the Brighton game first.
Do you?
When we look at those substitutions, Jack, I know Harry mentioned it at the time, and we were sort of like head in hands moment when he took Fabio off and Hwang was still on the pitch. Do you agree with Harry that Hwang has naked pictures of Bruno?
I mean, I think I said last time, I'm not sure how Hwang keeps starting, but I think it goes back to the fact there's nobody else who he trusts, really. I mean, Trincao is inevitably going to go back to Barcelona, so you want to invest in a player, give minutes to a player who's actually going to be here next season. Maybe that's part of the thinking of it. Also, I was thinking about this a lot on the whole concept of backing Bruno. I agree what Harry said. I mean, to people for calling him to resign after he's not had a fair crack of actually a whole season of being backed by the board is bizarre in my head. And I think the Hwang thing was a very reactionary purchase to the fact that everyone could see we needed to bring players in January and we weren't going to do it. So to paper over the cracks, we were like, well, we'll say we've signed Hwang. We'll sign Hwang on a permanent. A player is already here. And, that can be our signing for January. And I think that was the reason it's gone through. And people are starting to question that now quite rightly, because ever since he's signed, his performances have just not been up to it, really. He's not an improvement on what we got at all. It's disappointing, really. And I do feel for Bruno. And some of the talk that came out after the game is also just that there's been fallings out and he's lost the dressing room, and people have he's dropping players because they've had like personal fallings out and all these things. Personally, I think a lot of this is just Twitter rumors, and there's probably not that much in it. And it's people putting, oh, this player was dropped and this player was dropped plus bad performance equals falling out. So I'm not reading too much into it, to be honest, because like you say, 6 weeks ago, everything was all pretty rosy, wasn't it? I think it just comes down to the fact that we haven't got enough quality in the squad, which is evident for everybody to see. We haven't got enough quality. There's not enough competition for places. And when we lose our best players, when our Neveses and our Podences and our Kilmans aren't there, we haven't got the squad to cover it. And that's what we need to address in the summer.
We knew that.
Yeah.
We said this early on in the season. Our starting good 11 when everyone's fit is good enough. It's when people start to fall off. We knew this was coming. We called it. If you listen back to our podcast around Christmas, we were saying this.
And I mean, how many transfer windows do you normally need, Bayless? I mean, I'd always say that you've got to give a manager 3 transfer windows. The summer will be his 3rd transfer window, but when he hasn't been backed in 2 of them, it's a bit pointless.
Apparently, our hands have been tied by financial fair play, and that's come to an end. So I think, regardless of the number of windows, now's the time that we're going to find out, isn't it? We're not in a great spot. There's clearly some driftwood that's got to be moved on. So if Sellers is really worth his position, then this coming summer is when we're going to find out if Wolves and Fosun are actually serious, or whether we are, unfortunately, a little bit tin pot.
I mean, there are players, thankfully, held down to long-term deals. I mean, Adama Traore, Harry is probably the only one that doesn't fall into that category. So that's a bonus. Neto got 45 minutes against Brighton, and like Jack said, for the last couple of weeks, what has he done to cement his place in the side?
Yeah, I think he might have come back a bit too quick by the looks of it. Because he's not 100% still, is he? And he's been having these cameos, and it's not working. Just on the subs, we've got to go back to the games. We've completely skipped over the game. The substitutions, as we mentioned, bringing Fabio off was a disgrace. Like, he should have brought Wang off a roll. And Neves was understandable because I think he did come out after and say the plan was to always give him 45 minutes. And then obviously he brought Neto on 3-4-3, but nothing changed. And the penalties as well. Sace, we've been all praised Sace, haven't we? Saying how good he's been until he returned from AFCON. And that handball, look, I know, like, we've just watched a replay before we come back on again. It's a stonewall penalty. And what is he doing? Why is he leaning in and sticking his arm out like that? It's just clumsy stuff, isn't it? Like, how many penalties are we going to give away this season as well? And then when we give the penalty away, they miss at the post. You think, right then, let's go. But we just fell apart again and give him another penalty. It's just bizarre.
And to be fair, McAllister stepped up again and scored it. So you got to say,
nearly saved it, didn't he, Sarr? Nearly.
Yeah. Do you think Sarr needs to do better? I don't want to criticise him too much, Jack, because I think without Sarr, we'd probably be in a relegation battle.
Does Sarr need to do better? No. He needs the players in front of him to do better, really. I'll be honest. I know he's had a couple of moments where he's given away penalties, but you can't point at your goalkeeper if you can't score a goal, can you? That's the problem. Like, he's been keeping the numbers low enough. Obviously, I think that Brighton game was probably the first time we've lost by a 3-goal margin all season. Could be wrong off the top of my head.
It is.
So I think in that situation, you've got to be looking at your forward players because we're not scoring enough goals. How many goals have we scored? It's pathetic, the amount of goals that we've scored this season. And our position, considering the amount of goals we scored, it's an anomaly. And if we carry this on into next season, we'll get found out.
Well,
we'll
Jack,
be in a relegation battle.
That's the thing. Our strength this season has been our defence, how solid our record's been, but we've literally just fell apart the last few weeks defensively. That was
who's not been there? Who's not been there? Kilman.
Yeah.
Like,
and then not scoring goals. Pedence hasn't been there, and there's reports that he's saying he don't want to play even if he's fit now. So there's more murmurs going on behind the scenes. But without Pedence up there, we create nothing.
Just on that Pedence point, the last time Wolves scored a Premier League goal without Daniel Pedence was when he was on the pitch. It was the 1st of November 2021. That was the 2-1 win against Everton. He started 16 games this season. Wolves have won 11 of those, drawn 1, and scored 21. To answer Jack's question, Wolves have scored 33 goals this season, which I believe is the lowest outside the bottom 3, who scored 32 each. Watford and Norwich and Everton have scored 35.
The comment. Sorry, let's look at the comments.
Wanky Chan, Francisco Stinkau. Like it.
Very creative.
It's all going good when we were nicking results, but we knew it was there.
Yeah, it's a bad result, isn't it?
It's the first game this season as well where maybe you could have a little bit of an argument for Fabio because he looked like he's the only one who cared, but not one player played well, really, did they? Like, everybody didn't look asked to be there. We're 3 points off like the top 7, and you would think we were mid-table with absolutely nothing to play. When it was just that's where we left, wasn't it? We left after the second goal went in because the way Martinho just half-assed tried to tackle him twice, and then obviously Trossard put it away. You're just looking at the players, you could tell they did not care, and that is weird. And I don't think the fans could care. Like, the fans didn't seem to be asked either. So it was a combination. Like, I think everyone could just see what was coming, and you could feel it in the air. And fair play to Brighton, they come and done a job, but we were just our own worst enemy on the day.
Go on, Jack.
I don't leave games early very often at all. Really, I'm usually a believer of stay to the full-time whistle, because if you're winning, you want to stay, give it and take it sort of thing. But after the second goal went in, I was just like, no, it's just not. They're not asked, and no one's asked, and it's just. I think mentally they know that they had their chance to get 7th or top 6 finish, and they've blown it, and now they can't mentally recover from it because they're just not bothered really, and the injuries have affected them. They know that the players that they got probably around them and starting aren't good enough to be able to do it, and there's no confidence in each other.
Because I mean, apart from Sarr and Wang, they are Nuno's players.
Yeah,
that's the only difference.
Also that Wang signing, like, that ain't a Bruno Lage signing, is it? He's not scouting players from bloody Korea. That's one that's probably been bought thinking to build our profile in the Asian market that they've been eyeing up for a while. It was always going to happen that we brought in a Chinese or a Korean player or something like that. So I would arguably say the only signing there that, is Jose Sarr that Bruno would have potentially had an actual, say in. And unless you give him some money in the summer, you're never going to know, really. But I know there's people who are still saying Bruno out. He hasn't got it right. But
there's a comment there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Look
at that comment.
Bruno out, he is clueless. Sporting got rid of him.
Sporting was he was at Benfica.
Benfica, yeah. The thing is, that's a good point actually, because with Benfica, he got off like a house on fire, didn't he? And then it dwindled away, and they sacked him quite quick. And it's kind of happening with us, where he started. Well, saying that we lost the first 3, but you know what I mean. We're on that run, got towards the top 4, then it's dwindled away. But still, that's probably just coincidence, because I still stick to what I said at the beginning. It's really harsh to blame Bruno. But
look at the difference, though, Harry. The difference of the first 3 games of the season and the last 3 games that we've lost, it's chalk and cheese.
That's the thing. He's shown that even though it is the majority, every player apart from Chan and whoever else you said, I can't remember now, it's the same players. But he actually got us playing differently, didn't he? Like in terms of attacking, and even when we were playing similar formations, it was a bit different, weren't it, with the inverted wingers and things like that. So all of a sudden, though, in this 7 losses in 10, whatever it is, it does feel like Nuno could be stood in the dugout in a lot of the games, doesn't it? A lot of them are the same as it was towards the end of Nuno's reign.
If you do want to comment, though, that it could be a Bruno out, sort of in the Bruno out box, is the thing that's really shocking is the fact that the only game where we've come from behind to get points is against Villa all season. Every other game we've gone behind him, we've lost. That's just shocking, isn't it? Like, there's no fight there. You think back to the first season under Nuno, we didn't know we were beat. It doesn't matter who we're playing. If we're playing Man City or like whoever, we carry on and we fight to the end. Whereas now it seems like, they've got the first goal, so they've won.
But is it like, I don't know if Bayless mentioned it earlier, is it because there's so many players uncertain on their futures and it's coming up towards the end of the season? Like Moutinho, is he staying? We don't know if Sace is staying. Marcel's going. What's going to happen with other people coming in who are out on loan, like Gibbs White and things like that? So I think it's a bit of uncertainty behind the scenes. And with the reports of Johnny and Raul falling out with Bruno as well, once you lose the players, it's pretty hard to come back, isn't it? And with Bruno coming out after the game as well, saying the fans were right to boo the players, you know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, their fault. So is that a problem?
Well, I think one thing about Bruno, though, is he's not scared to go and call out players, is he? He's done it with Hoover and these people. So I think I can understand why he could fall out with players, because he'll go in and be like, what are you doing? It's not good enough.
Yeah.
And
get Neil Warnock out of retirement. Come with a bit of passion.
Let's have a look at Chelsea next at Stamford Bridge, where we famously get absolutely nothing. Bayliss, I'll start with you. You haven't said anything for a while.
I've seen us get a result there.
How do you think that this one's going to go? What's he going to do? Because I mean, you got half of the fan base saying, "Well, look, we may as well play the youngsters, play Chiquinho, play Toti Gomez, maybe try a 4, try Luke Cundle. Why not? Can't be any worse than the weekend."
It could be an absolute classic Wolves to go and nick it 1-0, but at the same time, if it's anything like the last few performances, it's 3-0 Chelsea easy, isn't it? I think they haven't been great of late. And they're going to need to prove it to cement the top 4 spot. So,
Harry, they're the same questions that are pretty much asked last week. He's got to change it. What changes is he going to make?
Yeah, he has got to change it. I think we'll see the same starting formation because we're away from home. Whether Neves can do another 45 or something like that, but I would mix it up a bit. Definitely, I'd put the likes of Chiquinho in because our season's over, isn't it? We've got Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, and I know we've got Norwich, but. Could we go and nick a win? Maybe. But we just need to see a response of some kind. If we just turn up and sit back and just get dicked with no attacking intent and no care and sloppy defending again, the fans will be fuming. So let's hope they've got a bit of character. We've seen Cody's quotes, him saying we don't want to just dwindle away. Well, prove it. You're the captain. Get them galvanised. And whoever starts, just show us your bloody care. Because as Bayless just mentioned, Chelsea, they haven't done that well. I think they've won 1 in the last 4 in the Premier League. And was it Brentford who went and smashed them? About 6 weeks ago, they can be got at if we're at it and we're organised and we them on the counter.
Jack,
yeah, I agree. That's the only saving grace, really, is if you're looking out of the 3 big teams you've got to play. I think the one we're most likely to get a result from is this one because they're all over the place lately as well. They're not consistent at all. Do I think it's enough to go there and win based on the performances we've had? No, not at all. I think even if they half turn up, based on what I've seen, Chelsea will probably win. But there's a bit of hope, at least, because we've seen other teams go there and do it. But I haven't got holding out much hope. But the thing is, if we win, I don't know who West Ham have got this weekend. I've kind of just stopped because it's just annoying to even just keep thinking about it, because every week you think, oh, that's done now, and then they lose, and you still think, oh, there's a chance. But so, you know, who knows? But we could go there and get something. But yeah, you just want a bit of fight, don't you? Even if we go there and lose, at least you've had a bit of fight. Not, oh, we're 1-0 down now. That's it. That sort of mentality. So there's going
to have to be one change. There'll have to at least be one change because Semedo has twisted his knee.
Well, he's bring Johnny back in, won't he?
Is that? And then do we think? Oh, those rumours. Hopefully, they're not true. That he's fallen out with them.
Well, he came on, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
that's forced change, wasn't it?
Well, he's got to play, hasn't he? He's a forced start as well. Who else is he going to put right wing back? Johnny, Ait-Nouri, although he didn't have no one had the good game today against Brighton, but like you mentioned, Ait-Nouri on that one when he just blasted it out. But I've liked the fact Johnny's been right wing back. I think he's done really well there but obviously he had to get switched back against Burnley because Semedo was back. So I'm happy with him slotting back in there.
And Fabio and Jimenez Bayliss?
Doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't really. No.
Jack might as well play up front.
Yeah, it's true actually. Just
how
many goals we're going to score and done.
Yeah, you said that you were better than Fabio Silva.
Yeah, that was funny.
No, I didn't. I said I would do as much as Fabio. I would get as many goals as Fabio Silva, which currently is correct.
That was last season, but he's improved this year. But like you say, he hasn't scored, has he? So, you know,
in the Premier League, I would have just as many goals as Fabio Silva.
That's a very good point. You probably have more minutes, to be fair. Let's have a look at some. I don't think we'll bother with ticket news. I mean, if you've got any, Jack, then that would be great. But
no games left.
The early birds coming out when we beat Chelsea 1-0.
Oh, Bailey's got some odds for me.
I have got a few. As I'm sure you can all imagine, we are very long for anything. 9-1 just to win.
Wow. Not surprised.
And now I've got three things that won't happen. Fabio Silva in a 1-1 draw, 90-1. Mason Mount to score first and 2-1 to Wolves, 210-1.
Wow. Not
the one glimmer of hope, the one slight possibility is we absolutely shithouse it. And when we shithouse games, who scores the goal?
Sace.
1-0 Sace, 375-1.
Get it
That's the one. That's where the value is. This is the week for Harry's 4-1 bet to pay big, says Hungry Like the Wolf.
I'm stopping that 4-1 bet. It's gone. I'm give up. We never score 4.
Mark Raid says stick a pound on at 9-1. Obviously, the Pop Idol money's run out.
And lose a quid.
Oh, dear. Let's do a score prediction, though, Harry.
Realistically, 3-0 Chelsea.
Jack?
I was going to say 3-0 as well. Yeah, why not? 3-0 Chelsea.
Do you have a clean sweep of 3-0s?
I'll be more optimistic than I was earlier. Then I'll go 2-0.
I was going to say. So nobody thinks we're going to score.
It's more optimistic. Yeah, got a score to win. Oh dear. Right. Okay. Well, I suppose we've got to move on to one of the other bigger stories involving Barcelona and a certain Adama Traore. There was a picture I saw, a tweet after the match, and I think he was out there with the is Oscar Hernandez, who's Xavi's assistant, trying to calm him down, saying he's frustrated for not coming on to play. He's had, I think you probably count on one hand the amount of minutes he's had in that time. And then Fabrizio Romano's come out today saying Barcelona have no intention to pay the €30 million buy option for Adama Traore. The only way to keep him was always in a swap deal with no money included in the negotiation with Wolves. And as of today, there are no chances for Wolves to stay at Barcelona. I mean, Harry, are we surprised about that? I mean, it's something that we've spoken about, saying he's clearly not getting the minutes. He's obviously going to come back, but Scott Sellers, that interview that he did previously, saying it was it was the right deal for all parties involved, and that has not materialised at all.
Yeah, those quotes, just reading them back, they haven't aged well, have they? It's quite funny, to be honest. It's just been terrible, hasn't it? He's gone. He's just sat. He started off okay, as we've mentioned. He's just sat on the bench. And he could have been with us doing the same thing and coming on and probably making a difference. Yes, it's his boyhood club. yes, he didn't have the pay rise, did he? If you remember, he just stayed on the same wages to go there. And we all believed he'd be going for 30 million and it would all be rosy. All the Trincao swap would happen. But again, Adama, it's a weird one because I think Jack said before on a podcast, managers just look at him. They must just look at him in training and think, nah, no. So he's going to come back. He's got a year left on his deal. I'd love him to sign a new deal and just sell him on. But I think he's just going to dwindle it down and go on a free, which I don't want to happen, but I hope he comes back and tears it up. And it's just been an absolute disaster. And Scott Sellers, he has not made himself look any good in this situation, has he? Because it seems like he's the one who made it happen.
Well, he's just been Del Boy, hasn't he? He's bought fire-damaged fireworks. That's what he's done, isn't it, Jack? I mean, it was all built up that, he's going to go back to his boyhood club, and you thought, oh, actually, fair enough, because he's not gone there for the money. Little bit of a wake-up call for him, we said, potentially last week, and that's obviously filtering through if the assistant manager's having to calm him down after a game. But, it's out. If he runs down his contract, that is on Wolves. Nobody else, that's on Wolves.
It's just a shit show, really, isn't it? Let's be honest,
Yeah.
from start to finish. I don't know what's going on. I understand that he wanted to go back. I know he wanted to leave. I'm sure he had quite a good contract put in front of him, which he didn't want to sign because he probably wasn't getting enough money, bottom line. But maybe going back to Barcelona and not being able to, tear it up and prove he's one of the best players in the world and deserves a massive wage might be a reality check for him. But
when does his deal end?
He's got a year left.
Next summer, yeah. So
it's just a sad state of affairs, really, isn't it? Because we could have really used him in these past few months, really. You're not telling me he's not a step up on Trincao and Hwang, because he is. At least he can beat a player. He can beat three players. You might put it in the row Z after that, but it's more than them two can do. So it's at least it's a positive, and players have to sit back and mark him out the game, don't they?
Did you see? Was it? It's Byrne, and he's at Newcastle now. He used to be at Brighton.
Dan Byrne.
Did you see his quotes in the week saying, "I was so happy when he went to Barcelona"? So defenders, one of the best left backs in the bloody world at Liverpool. He was on the Peter Crouch podcast saying, "I hate playing against him. He tears me to pieces." Yes, he puts it in the stand or don't pass or whatever, but he gets you on the edge of your seat. And he's an impact player. I want him to play for us. I really do, because he excites me. When I see him warming up on the bench to come on, I'm like, come on then, let's go.
Here we go. Yeah.
I'm like, yes,
if Wolves have got
go.
any sense now, they'll get the contract they did offer him before. They'll take a third off it, put it on the table and say, you either sign that now or you aren't going to play football for 12 months, and then you'll end up fucking off to the Championship and not playing there as well, because you won't be worth anything.
You won't go to the Championship.
But if Newcastle,
who's going to buy him? Who's going to
Newcastle are swooping for an offer and he'll be gone. If they get any sort of offer, they'll sell him.
He hasn't played football for nearly 2 years, by a year and a half by that point.
But he's got this weird reputation, Adama, where people think he's actually better than what he is. When you don't support Wolves and watch him every week, or Barcelona, people think he's way better than he actually is, don't they? His reputation precedes his actual ability, weirdly.
100%.
So he'll get a move.
Oh,
if he doesn't,
he will get a move, and of course he will.
If he doesn't sign a deal, it will be the worst piece of football business I think that's probably ever happened.
Yeah. But you'd have him back, wouldn't you? I mean, we've said it before.
Of course you would. Yeah, I'd love to see him back. But I also think if he isn't going to sign a deal, I'd let him rot.
Harry, do you think there's that little inkling when he goes, "Oh, actually, if I've gone to Barcelona, where it's not the Barcelona of, a couple of years ago, who were out of the Europa League for various reasons, and you're not starting in that team." Do you think that as a niggling feeling that you go, "Oh, actually, I could go to Spurs and be on loads of money, even though I've just had a move where I could have gone to Spurs and got loads of money and rejected it"? Do you think that will start to play on his mind a little bit, and he goes, "Oh, actually, the grass isn't greener"?
I hope so. But I think he believes he's a level up. I think he thinks he's good enough to be in like the top three. I really do, because he wants this massive wage. He wants to be the highest paid player. He wants to be a starter, which we've mentioned he's better as an impact. So he probably thought Spurs was below his level. But now he's probably seen him pushing towards the top four. He probably would go there. But I do hope he signs a new deal. Just for us, and then we can sell him and get some money for him. But it seems like it all broke down behind the scenes, didn't it? Like with all this Barcelona stuff. So I've got no idea what's going to happen. But like people are saying in the comments, he's better than Trincao. He's better than Hwang. I mean, they're not exactly scoring and assisting every week, are they? So, yeah, I'd have him back.
It's a tricky one, though, isn't it, Jack? Because it's a World Cup year, we keep saying, and that I imagine that will be playing on his mind as well. And he's gone to Barcelona thinking, "Oh, actually, if I do well in Barcelona, then I'm a dead cert for the Spain squad by a mile. But so if you take Bayliss's point of saying, and it actually probably makes it make more sense, is that if you take money off that deal to say, well, you can run it down and you definitely won't be going to the World Cup because you won't be playing football.
Yeah, I mean, his motives for wanting to go to Spain, yeah, definitely makes sense, really. But the trouble is with Barcelona, and it's a bit frustrating that we want to keep this close relationship with Barcelona, don't we? But the bottom line is, at the moment, they ain't got any money.
The financially ruined former super club.
Yeah, exactly. So this is when there's Neves rumours flying around as well, which just must be nonsense unless we're going to swap him for a teenager from their academy, which is all well and good. But the bottom line is now, if they're not good enough for Barcelona, they're not good enough to take us to where we want to be in the Premier League, in my opinion.
They're not even that good, Barcelona.
So, it's a good call.
So, it's a weird one, but I agree with the guys. I'd love him to come back just because he's definitely better than what we've got. He's exciting, and I just don't want to have to play against him as well at the same time. Do you know what?
There's an element of that, definitely.
So I just hope they can sort it out, and I hope it has been a bit of a brought him back down to earth, maybe realizing that he's not going to be, playing for Barcelona or Bayern Munich.
This is a good point. Just before, you remember them couple of games before he went to Barca? He scored against Southampton and then got that goal that was like a tail nose offside, wasn't it, at Brentford away? So it was weird. He started to perform really well and started to put the ball in the net before he went to Barca. So let's hope he can come back and do that.
Just wanted to move, probably, didn't he? That's why.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He was just excited. A big shout out to George Elokobi, who has announced his retirement from football. So wish him all the best in retirement. He can go and have some calories without potentially doing the weights.
What a bloke!
Maybe enjoy it. What a bloke! Yeah, there is an episode where Bayliss, you interviewed him, I think, didn't you? When it was at Leighton Orient.
He's such a nice guy as well.
So yeah, the nicest guy.
Never forget his goal against United, although I think Kevin Doyle.
Both of them. Both.
Yeah. He is adamant, isn't he? He is absolutely adamant that
absolutely adamant. They both is.
Yeah.
It's nice what he did for what you mentioned, just what he did for Aaron as well. Aaron, our American friend, is his favourite player, isn't it? And he sent him like a video message. That's quality.
Honestly, he was the loveliest guy. He couldn't give us enough time or what we asked for. He's like one of the good people of football.
With the most respect to him, you can tell he loved it at Wolves, because I think he was just so grateful he was playing in the Premier League, which probably a little bit above his level. I don't want to put a dampener on it, but he was so grateful when he to play for us, and he was a fan.
Scored more goals than Semedo.
Yeah, would you rather have him right wing back or left wing back?
Oh dear. Anything else to talk about? Was there anything else on your list, Harry? I couldn't remember.
Just we mentioned it right at the beginning, but about the Bruno going thing. Do we think he's going to stay? We all four of us surely think he's going to be dug out next year. But there's a lot of people online saying that they don't think he will be.
I'd actually be gutted.
Yeah,
I'd be upset.
You've got to give him the chance to build his team. Yeah.
I've seen a couple of comments on social media saying he's not the right person to take us to the next level, and it's all very well tweeting that, but I don't really know what that means. Like, what is the next level?
Well, in our case, consistently getting into Europe, isn't it? But
we have got to be careful.
Yeah,
we're in serious danger of doing an Everton. Bring in 6-7 players that haven't played together before that might look good on paper that can't do it. Because what it realistically needs is 6 players to come into a team.
Also, which Europe is it? Is it the third tier competition? Is it the second tier competition? Or is it
like we care?
One? No, but that's what I'm saying. But it's all very well saying, take us to the next level, but actually the next level would technically be the Conference League. I mean, from a fan perspective, I agree. As in going out and getting hammered in Vienna is brilliant. But in footballing terms, is the Thursday, Sunday thing for Europa Conference League the next level? And is that the level that you want to aspire to?
Yeah.
I think football's, it's just about, we're just being selfish and we just want enjoyment out of it, don't we? And that would be really enjoyable for us. And the reason I really, really wanted to get into Europe this year is because I think Newcastle are obviously going to be a problem from next year, aren't they? And they could be challenging for these sorts of places because they're going to be a force, particularly if they invest even more. So then suddenly there's going to push us down to 9th, 10th. Leicester won't probably have as bad a season as they did. It's just going to get more and more competitive, really, for those European spots. So that's why this is such a missed opportunity, because we should be 7th comfortably now. We've got our chances. Games against Leeds. That Leeds game, I think, really screwed us mentally, to be honest, because I think since then it's been really poor, hasn't it? So,
but just look what Kevin Jackson said here. So he's put, if we lose the last 4, he thinks it'll go. If you look at the big picture, it's still a great season. It
Yeah.
is, because
I think
we
it'd
all
be-
said
it'd be an
mid-table.
overachievement. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's an overachievement. It's just like he shot himself in the foot a bit because we were flying towards the top 4 at one point. But with the squad size, with not being backed, he's done a pretty good job. Yes, he's made mistakes. If he was perfect, he wouldn't be managing Wolves. He'd be managing bloody Man City. He'd be Pep Guardiola, wouldn't he? He does make some substitution mistakes. His tactics sometimes can be questionable. But for me, he's a breath of fresh air in the media. He's very honest. And he's not a million miles off Nuno, is he? In terms of tactics and that, I don't think.
Hungry
So
Like
I think
Wolf
it's very
said-
harsh to say he's going to go.
Hungry Like Wolf said, should we cram the under-23s with first-team players to ensure they get promotion to PL2 Div 1? If Wolves' plan is to grow academy players, they need to play the higher level to make the step up possible.
Well, with them saying, they've always said, haven't they, they want our under-23s to be the backup to our small squad. But I hope they change that philosophy after what's happened this season. They've got to bolster the squad with senior quality players now and not go for this buying young people in to sell them on in a few years, young squad method they want to do. Because it's clearly, if we had a good, strong bench with capable players, we'd be flying into that European places this year. It's just ridiculous. They don't see that.
I've got a bit of a tangent, sorry.
Yeah.
Instagram, Semedo's just confirmed that he's out for the rest of the season.
Oh,
I think
you're
it's
right.
pretty
You're right,
obvious,
Bayless.
but,
You're right. Yeah.
Have you got
Nobody else will
notifications
do
on for his tweets? Have you? Or what?
That's a shame, but we've got
Actually,
Johnny there.
it was actually Matt Cooper and Dave Alan-Pardew. So
There we go.
What sort of investment do you think needs to be spent in terms of the first team squad, Jack? You know, we talk about spending money. I mean, put a figure on it?
The way it's shaping up at the moment, and to actually get some squad depth, we need to bring in 5 players, I'd say, probably, who will compete for first team places and arguably hopefully be better than what we got. And you're not going to get that without spending 80 to 100 million.
Well, yeah,
really,
at least.
you know.
Sorry to put in just in the comments. It's a great point. I'm pulling myself up here. AB, that's a great point, but is that his fault or is that the players?
Let's read it out for the podcast listeners. Worst goals and expected goals in the league from a manager brought in to do the opposite. He's not done well at all, Harry.
Which we did mention at the beginning, but it's a player
with a child and a bloke who's clearly
lost
lost
his head.
it.
Yeah,
Sadly,
probably should have chose better words.
the Raul situation isn't very nice, and sadly, there's the empathy has to go to the side slightly when you talk about the performance of the team. And it's the fact that Wolves haven't got anyone there to go and do the job and score goals at the same time. So we aren't going to score tons of goals with a child that can't score yet. He's not good enough yet, and someone that's not.
The first 3 games, he set us up to attack like mad, and we lost 1-0 every game. So we had to change it because we weren't scoring. So we had to shore us up at the back a bit and shithouse it a bit.
We've had some fantastic performances as well. It's only of late where we've just not been very good.
Do you think the problem is that we talk about projects and long-term goals and that sort of thing, and already not even 12 months into Bruno Lage being here, we're talking about potentially changing manager again. And if you take someone like Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, whose recruitment has been out of this world, let's face it. I mean, eyebrows were raised and paid £74 million for Van Dijk, but I mean, those eyebrows aren't raised anymore. If you look at his first Liverpool side, let me just read it out because I've got it here. Mignolet in goal, Nathaniel Klein, Skirtle, Sacco, Moreno, Chan, Lucas, Coutinho, Lallana, Milner, Origi. And when you look at where obviously Liverpool were, and that, always been a big club, but where they are now, completely part of a long-term project. And Liverpool have spent money and having assets that are worth money. 142 million pounds for Coutinho obviously helped in buying Van Dijk and people like Alisson. So, how far ahead should we be looking at like a 3 to 4 year project and sticking with it? It's just sticking with it in a Premier League era, which is chop and change. Is
we need to spend the 200 million.
I just want them to actually buy players in the positions we need, instead of avoiding it, like they've avoided signing the defender for the last 3 years or whatever it is.
But Neves could be the Coutinho of that side. Neves could be the cash cow that lets you go and spend money wisely.
Neves is going. Let's be honest. He's
talking of money. Mark Rhodes is complaining about money again in the comments. Can someone get on Spotify tonight? And
what's he put? We have scored 18 goals at home this season.
Season ticket costs
£549. That's £30 a goal. Good point, Mark. But I'll go back to what I just said. Is that Bruno Lage's fault, or is that the players at his disposal?
Well, yeah, I think it's recruitment is shit. I think a proper director of football with some decent pedigree is what Wolves need.
And I think someone said in the comments up here, Kevin Jackson. I don't know if we've already brought this up because I'm reading the comments, but would they trust Bruno to do all this? They appointed him, and it doesn't seem like he has, as we know from the Scott Sellers comments, he's not the sole person who brings in the players, is he? It's like a big team effort. So if it was solely down to him to bring in all these players, they probably wouldn't trust him. But considering Super Scott Sellers has got a big say, then they appointed him.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, Harry, Andy Robertson, one of the best left backs in the world at the moment. What, they pay £8 million from Hull for him? Then they got Trent. Yeah, okay, he's come through the academy, but you need to nurture young players. People like Joe Gomez and Matip was a free transfer. There is definitely value out there if you have the footballing pedigree at the top of the chain to go and find it.
Yeah, and also Busby, great comment here. So I said to you, I said to you on the Saturday, Connor Cody, right? When was the last time you saw that bloke hit a massive diagonal out to one of the wing backs? You just don't do it anymore. So what's the point? What's the point in him being in that back three now? We may as well try and switch to a 4 now and try and change it up. Because Cody is not doing his role as a sweeper, where he's doing all these big diagonals, just don't happen anymore. No.
So I'll just read out that comment though. That I want to see what happens if we try a back 4 for a duration. Nuno didn't know how to play with 4 with strong defenders. Want to see it with Bruno that prefers that formation and knows how to play it too. But yeah, I agree. I think you've got to use these games to chop and change. But unfortunately, if he does that, 3 of the 4 teams that we're playing are top 3 sides, and if it goes wrong, it will probably go very, very wrong.
And as Paul Merson famously said when he was talking about Harry Maguire being good for England, he said you play 3 defenders because you don't trust to play a 2 because the defenders you got there are not good enough. Cody, defensively, in my opinion.
Yeah, interesting times. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there for this week, and we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
You don't want to read out some comments before we go?
Oh, go on, read out. You can read out some comments. So
should we scroll back up because there was a few.
Go for it.
Quite a lot of comments tonight, aren't there? Spot on.
It's funny, isn't it? There's way more comments when we're shit.
Yeah,
like, way more. People love getting stuck in.
I like this comment, AB. Scott Sellers needs to exit immediately. The effing drunk. I like that one.
Allegedly.
I think we've discussed this one. I don't think he'll be here.
Neves in the summer. I think I wouldn't begrudge him a move, to be honest.
But then what's the point? Like, well, if we sell Neves, we've seen how bad it's been. We've seen how bad it's been without him. Like, we'll be in relegation fodder because what we'll probably do is sell him and then not spend any money and get it wrong with the replacement. And we'll have Matinho and Dendoncker playing for the whole season. And then Luke Cundler's back up or something. And, it shows no ambition. So I hope he stays. You can't just constantly sell your best players and move forward.
But we haven't ever, in my opinion, sold our best player. Ever.
Jota.
Jota
wasn't our best player. Wasn't our best player.
I agree. Yeah, not our best player.
He never wasn't starting.
Robbie Keane at the time probably was.
Well, yeah, don't
going back to when we were.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Since promotion, I was talking about.
No, I think that is fair. But it's going to happen, then, isn't it? Then do you think Neves will go?
I think he's gone.
Yeah, he might do. I think.
Talking of transfers, AB, I've seen this on Twitter, and I don't know who this woman is. So apparently, some woman. Apologies, I can't remember who it was. But who's that woman who announced we've agreed to sign terms with Guedes? Do you guys know if she's reliable? So there's a woman who must be kind of in the know because everyone thinks it's true that we've agreed to sign that Guedes in the summer, which would be a good signing. But as we said last week, we've got no idea if he's that good. So we don't know if he'll be any good.
Don't worry yourself about it.
Yeah, we're going to be so many rumours, isn't there? I don't know why. There's so many comments, lads. I don't know which ones.
I think we want to go to. Yeah, we want to go to Turin again, but we've got more chance of going to Telford, I think.
Paulinho's coming in the summer, says Hungry Like the Wolf. We're always linked with him.
Maybe.
Always.
Maybe.
Excellent.
There we go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks for all the comments. But
I hope that's put everybody in a good mood ahead of the Chelsea game. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yeah, see you, everyone.
Dan Bayliss.
Goodbye, everybody.
And Jack Williams.
Bye. See some of you Saturday.
And it is a goodbye from me. Goodbye.